Welcome back to Conversations with Jennifer. Jennifer's an estate planning attorney, and today we're going to talk about the top 3 things you need to do to your estate plan when you move to California. So where do we start, Jennifer?
Okay. So every state has its own estate planning laws and procedures in place. So we always recommend either when you're moving from California to another state or moving to California to meet with an estate planning attorney and have your documents reviewed. Typically, the most important, immediate document that we want reviewed, especially if you're elderly or have medical issues, is your healthcare directive. Every state has kind of its own laws as far as medical decisions. It's a place where you can list your primary physician. So getting that document updated, also changing agents potentially to someone who's closer, lives in your new state as opposed to your old state. So your documents. So your documents don't become invalid just because you've moved to a different state, but you may want to take advantage of either the different laws in California or someone being closer proximity-wise to you here in California.
Cool.
Also taking a look at your trust document and making sure that that still works, because again, each state has its own laws in place. So making sure we're referencing California law in your trust. There's a whole bunch of different provisions out there that may be the same in the state that you're coming from, but could be different and could be more advantageous here in California. So going and taking a look at your trust and getting that updated. And then taking a look at your property. So what assets do you have? Sometimes they're in the trust, as we've talked about, Amar. Sometimes you have assets outside the trust. And taking a look at all of that and making sure it still works based on California law. The other really unique thing about California is we're a community property state. And so oftentimes when people come from a non-community property state and move here to California, they want to look at whether or not they want to take advantage of the community property rules for spouses, which can be incredibly advantageous, as you know, Amar. So taking a look at how you hold property, if you hold it in 2 separate trusts and you don't want to redo those trusts, you can still do a separate community property agreement potentially, and then just amending the trust to confirm a reference to that community property agreement. So there are things that you can do, and you just want to meet with a professional here in California who can help walk you through all the differences and the nuances here in California.
That's great, because especially the step up in basis is, I think, like the biggest part of that trips people up, because in California you have the potential to get that step up in basis. Correct me if I'm wrong, but twice.
Correct. Well, yeah, on 100% of your assets rather than just on the deceased spouse's assets. And then, again, potentially, when surviving spouse dies. It depends on your trust structure. So again, that's when you really want to look at that trust and confirm that it's structured the way you want it, because depending on how the assets are divided when the first spouse dies, you may not get a full step up in basis when surviving spouse dies, but you may have other estate planning reasons for doing it that way. So again, there's lots of benefits to community property and that full step up in basis, but there could be other estate planning reasons for wanting to keep things a little bit different. So
absolutely. And what's the last one? Do we have a last one with so the first one's healthcare directives. The second is the trust document, and then the last one we have is
looking at your property, which we did talk about. So looking at your assets and how title is held. It's in the trust, outside of the trust. Do you want to take advantage of community property or not? Because it is powerful here in California. So.
Yeah, awesome. So if you have any questions or concerns, or if you move into California and you're just getting situated with updating your documents and you need a little bit of help, please reach out to us. Jennifer and I are both in San Diego, and we're more than happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.